We'll offer prayers before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye shranvata svakatha krishna punya shravana kirtana hridayantosto vibhadrani vidunoti shubhatsatam nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhakti naishtaki Om Ajnatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रसाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पश्चात्यादेशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे. So I just wanted to tell you that I'm super nervous. I'm not very much like a public speaker, and in college I tried to take public speaking classes to kind of overcome this, and twice I took it and twice I dropped out. So, seeking blessing of all your senior devotees and Vaishnavas that, I get some courage to speak today. I'm sure you can tell from my voice that I'm super nervous.
Now you should be really nervous.
So.
Oh, sorry.
So just a little disclaimer that I haven't read Srimad Bhagavatam like in detail or anything like that. So to prepare for this class, I heard Srila Prabhupada's lecture on these verses, Ramabhat Swami Maharaj's, and a part of Vaisheshika Prabhu's, and then I read Unveiling the Lotus Feet, just to kind of prepare myself. So anything I'm going to share is coming from those sources. So let's read the verse. We'll do 1.2.33. Aso gunamayer bhaver bhuta sukshmendriyatmabhi svanirmiteshu nirvishto bhunte bhuteshu tadgunan aso gunamayer bhaver bhuta sukshmendriyatmabhi svanirmiteshu nirvishto bhunte bhuteshu tadgunan
Aso gunamayir bhave Bhuta sukshmendriyatmabhi Svanirmiteshu nirvishto Bhunte bhuteshu tadgunan Aso gunamayir bhaver Bhuta sukshmendriyatmabhi Svanirmiteshu nirvishto Bhunte bhuteshu tadgunan
Aso gunamayer bhaver Bhuta sukshmendriyatmabhi Svanirmiteshu nirvishto Bhunte bhuteshu tadgunan Aso gunamayer bhaver Bhuta sukshmendriyatmabhi Svanirmiteshu nirvishto Bhunte bhuteshu tadgunan
We'll read word by word. Asal,
Asal,
that Paramatma,
that Paramatma,
Gunamahi,
Gunamayi,
influenced by the modes of nature,
influenced by the modes of nature,
Bhavehi,
Bhavayi,
naturally,
naturally,
Bhuta,
Buddha,
created,
created,
Sukshma,
Sukshma,
subtle,
subtle,
Indriya,
Indriya,
senses,
senses,
Atmavihi,
Atmavihi,
by the living beings,
by the living beings,
Swanirmiteshu,
Swanirmiteshu,
in his own creation,
in his own creation,
Nirvishta,
Nirvishta,
entering,
entering,
Mukte,
Mukte,
causes to enjoy,
causes to enjoy,
Bhuteshu,
Bhuteshu,
in the living
in
entities,
the living entities,
Tatguna,
Tatguna,
those modes of nature.
those modes of nature.
Translation. The super soul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. There are 8.4 million species of living beings, beginning from the highest intellectual being, Brahma, down to the insignificant ant. And all of them are enjoying the material world according to the desires of the subtle mind and gross material body. The gross material body is based on the conditions of the subtle mind, and the senses are created according to the desire of the living being. The Lord as Paramatma helps the living being to get material happiness because the living being is helpless in all respects in obtaining what he desires. He proposes and the Lord disposes. In another sense, the living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord. They are therefore one with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings in all varieties of bodies have been claimed by the Lord as His sons. The sufferings and enjoyments of the sons are indirectly the sufferings and enjoyments of the Father. Still, the Father is not in any way affected directly by the suffering and enjoyment of the sons. He is so kind that He constantly remains with the living being as Paramatma and always tries to convert the living being towards the real happiness. So in chapter 1, the sages have asked the questions, and then in chapter 2 and 3, the answers are being revealed. So in chapter 2, there are 4 out of the 6 questions are being answered. So this section from 1.2 to 33 is answering the question 4 that the sages had asked to Sutta Goswami to narrate pastimes of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and specifically with the universal creation. So this last part is answering or is highlighting in the purport the super soul feature of Krishna. So as the super soul, Vasudeva enters in each universe, and according to the living entity's desires, whether they're material or spiritual, he reciprocates. So if one wants to enjoy separately from Krishna, then the Maya takes over. And if someone desires to turn to Krishna, then Krishna inspires the living entity in different way to come towards him. So the key word, and from this I picked up, is desire. What we desire is what we get. That's what, Lord will grant. So another part from the purport that struck me was that how Prabhupada is saying that the living being is helpless in all respects in obtaining what he desires. So we like to think that we're independent, we can do things on our own, we're controlling. But here Prabhupada is clearly telling us that we're not independent at all. We're very much dependent on every respect, on, on Krishna. So, 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 And even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that there are all types of living entities are there, but we are all part and parcel of Krishna. He says that Aham Bija Pradapita. So in that 14.4, the translation, it says, it should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I'm the seed-giving father. So because Krishna is seed-giving father, in the last part of this purport, Prabhupada is saying that because we're connected to him, he's indirectly feeling our suffering. Krishna is, understanding that we're suffering, even though he's not directly involved, or he's not directly feeling the suffering. So in question 3, or next verse, we will know Krishna's kindness, or what he does to help us. So we'll do the text 34 next. And then this text 34 is answering the third question that was asked by the sages, and that was, why did Lord Krishna appear? What was the purpose that Krishna came to this material world? So we'll recite text 34. Bhavayati esha satvena
Bhavayatesha satvena
lokan vai loka bhavanaha
lokan vai loka bhavanaha
Leelavatara
Leelavataranugato
Devatiryannaradishu.
Devatiryannaradishu.
Maybe we'll recite one from Prabhu and from Mataji. Prabhu, one of you want to recite?
Bhavayatesha satvena
Bhavayatesha satvena
lokan vai loka bhavana
lokan vai loka bhavana
Leelavatara nurato
Leelavataranugato
Devatiryan naradishu
Devatiryannaradishu.
Bhavayatesha satvena
Bhavayatesha satvena
lokan vai loka bhavana
lokan vai loka bhavana
Leelavataranugato
Leelavataranugato
Devatiryannaradishu.
Devatiryannaradishu.
So I'll read the translation. Thus the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men, and lower animals, assuming the roles of incarnations. He performs pastimes to reclaim those in mode of pure goodness. Purport. There are innumerable material universes, and each and every universe, there are innumerable planets inhabited by different grades of living entities in different modes of nature. The Lord Vishnu incarnates himself in each and every one of them, and each and every type of living society. He manifests his transcendental pastimes amongst them just to create the desire to go back to Godhead. The Lord does not change his original transcendental position, but he appears to be differently manifested according to the particular time, circumstances, and society. So there are two points from this. The first sentence that's saying that Krishna, there are innumerable material universes and planets, and then Krishna, and they're all different types of living entities, and they're all being conducted by different modes of nature, and the Lord Vishnu incarnates himself in each and every one of them. So he's present in each and every part of the universe. And there were a couple of verses that I found that I thought that were connected to this. And one is from Brahma Samhita 5.35. I'm just going to read the translation. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. And then the second one I thought that was connected with this was the invocation verse from the Sri Upanishad. And so maybe we'll recite this one. Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnashya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. So the translation, the personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is a complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. So I was thinking that when we get this knowledge, when we hear this knowledge, what does that mean in our practical life? Yeah, it's, we hear that, Krishna is in every atom, he's, pervading, all pervasive everywhere. But what does that mean to us? How can we apply that in our life? This knowledge. It's good to get knowledge, but then we have to have some application, I thought, from it. So I don't know if you have any thoughts that having this knowledge, how does it practically help us?
So I think it helps us because we should learn to appreciate every person, because everyone is a manifestation of Lord Krishna. So even if we think that some person is not okay or something, actually we should learn to appreciate everybody in the world. So because everybody is a manifestation of Lord Krishna itself.
So being respectful to everybody, understanding the source, they're all connected to Krishna. Yeah.
In the similar lines, I'm thinking, Mataji, any person or things around me, they're not just to give pleasure to me, whom they actually belong to. When I understand, my treatment or handling or expectations changes accordingly.
It's just comforting to know, that two things I would say, knowing that Paramatma is there in us. Over the last 2 days, I've been thinking about this. Because yesterday, Partner Gopal Prabhu did the class, and it actually gave me a lot of inspiration yesterday. And today, the same points are being covered. There is some kind of comfort that Krishna is there. He is seeing. He knows my deepest desires. Even if I'm distracted now, he knows my deepest desires to be connected with him. So, while I'm getting distracted all over the place, it's not useful to beat myself up. Rather, see that he's actually seeing my deepest heart. He's not going to just keep on sanctioning everything. He will, but at the same time, practicing devotee, I feel like we always have mixed things, two things always happening inside. And so it's just comforting to know that Krishna is there.
So we don't feel alone. Yeah, we don't feel lost and alone. We know that Krishna is there.
So I feel that the opulence of the Absolute chapter in Bhagavad Gita, that's what comes to my mind. That, anything that you hear, when you hear the glories of the Lord, that He's present in each and every atom of creation simultaneously and without any effort. really gives you a deep appreciation of who he is. And, there is no doubt who he is, So that gives you the inspiration to worship Krishna.
One of the points, any purpose or?
I was thinking, I'm a very practical person. It's very hard for me to see Krishna everywhere. I have discriminations, no question there. The only time I feel Krishna, to be honest, is when I do prayers in the morning to the sun god. I was amazed. I feel that it is something beyond that could be Krishna. The other time is when I drink water, every time I feel this is Krishna. Because there is no taste for that, but it is there. So those two, I feel always connected to Krishna when I see those two.
Yeah, very nice. So I was thinking probably for me when I read that one thing that Shatrugha Mataji said, that I didn't feel alone, that's one part. And second thing, knowing that everything is there, for me to understand that I'm part of Krishna and I somehow need to connect. That connection has to be carefully and sincerely cultivated. Even though just like you, I also don't see Krishna, everywhere. But giving this knowledge, at least having that understanding that I need to make that connection with Krishna. So that's, what, and then Prabhupada in this invocation verse, he gives that analogy of severed hand, that when the hand is severed, from the body, it doesn't have any value, it doesn't have any function of the hand. Only when we're connected to Krishna, we can feel like fully satisfied. So yeah, that's from that. And then another part of this section, or this paragraph that caught my attention was that how Krishna manifests his transcendental pastime to create the desire. So to create the desire, so Krishna knows that we don't have the desire to go back. So he's trying to create that for us, by coming himself. And that is, I was thinking that is so kind of Krishna. That is his kindness, his compassion towards us, because he's enjoying in the spiritual world. What need does he have to come down? He can, send anybody to do that. But he himself, personally comes, and that really kind of, when I read that, it touched my heart. That, I was thinking that, if you go see like some big person, like, I don't know, like Bill Gates or something, and he can send his servants, you're waiting downstairs in the lobby, he can send his, some person to come get you and say, come to my office. But how nice it would be if Bill Gates came down all the way, took you by your hand and, brought you back to his office to, discuss or talk. So, that's what Krishna is doing. He's personally coming down, to create the desire in us to go back, showing us where our true happiness is. And then, in which way, Krishna is manifesting for us, I was thinking in this Kali Yuga is through his holy name. He has, come down as his holy name. He has given us Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, all these transcendental sound vibrations, and especially Srimad Bhagavatam is, all his pastimes are given to attract us. He's inviting us, say, come. But are we doing that? I was thinking, just reflecting on myself, that do I really have that strong desire to go back? And, the answer is, maybe not. I'm stuck here. I feel like I'm okay. Things go here up and down, but so what? That's life. But, this desire, I feel like we have to cultivate. We'll read the second paragraph. Sometimes he incarnates himself or empowers a suitable living being to act for him. But in either case, the purpose is the same. The Lord wants the suffering living being to go back home, back to Godhead. The happiness which the living beings are hankering for is not to be found within any corner of the innumerable universes and material planets. The eternal happiness which the living being wants to obtain, is obtainable in the kingdom of God. But the forgetful living beings, under the influence of the material modes, have no information of the kingdom of God. The Lord therefore comes to propagate the message of the kingdom of God, either personally as an incarnation or through his bona fide representative as a good son of God. Such incarnations or sons of God are not making propaganda for going back to Godhead only within the human society. Their work is also going on in all types of societies amongst demigods and those other than human beings. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Divinity and Divine Service. And so when I read this, the point that I took from it, that how Krishna is so anxious, again to take us back. And, Prabhupada in his lecture, he gave example that, Krishna come as, Vamana Dev, he comes as Matsya, Kurma, tortoise, even in human forms, Rama, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya. So he is making his effort. He's coming, and all these innumerable incarnations, they're like compared to the waves in the ocean, they're like just countless. So Krishna as a loving father is always trying. But we forget and we turn our back towards Krishna and we come down to enjoy this material world and we try to make advancements in our material life, and we think that that is advancement. Or people in general, when they see that there is materially, scientifically and electronically and technically, we're advancing. But Prabhupada said that that is not real civilization. That is not advancement of any civilization. The real advancement is understanding, difference between matter and spirit, understanding that, we need to get out of this cycle of birth and death, having that knowledge and then acting from that. That is the real advancement, Prabhupada says. So, just on this point, I just encountered an incident just last week. That how, people are so misdirected in mass, in massive scale. So I was visiting a friend in California, and somehow she wanted me to watch this series called Radha Krishna. I said, I don't watch much TV, I don't have time for it. She said, no, I know you're spiritual, you must watch. I said, okay. So she turned on her TV, she, started finding it, and all of a sudden what caught my attention was there were like these different genres that you have to look for on these new apps. And then this, Radha Krishna, Lord Shiva, Ganesha, all of this, the title that genre was under was mythology. And I'm like, mythology? They've made Krishna a myth. It was just so mind-boggling to me. And I said, I'm like, I said, even the title was so disturbing. So I told my friend that, this is just not good. And in any case, so, just like that, and this is, throughout. So when the kids, younger generation, watch this, they're going to think that these gods are myths. They're not going to have, understanding, who God really is. So I felt like, by grace of Srila Prabhupada, we're given this knowledge, we have the awareness, and it is now our duty to spread this knowledge, make people aware that, that is not true. This is where, true knowledge is coming from. And the way I was thinking, our only hope to understand anything is just through Srila Prabhupada's books. Our only hope is mercy of the spiritual master, mercy of, Vaishnavas. So one way, or probably the best way we can spread this knowledge is through Srila Prabhupada's books. How else the mass people will get this knowledge? So, that's something is actually very dear to my heart. I like to do book distribution, given that I don't have a lot of time, so it's taking kind of, set on the back burner. But, we just started. I know we're doing the Patel Brothers book distribution. So I would encourage everyone, to get involved, even, if you have half an hour, whatever. But we have, I feel that service to be done to, to our Srila Prabhupada, that, people are misdirected. We must somehow or other give them this knowledge so, maybe they can, come back on the right path. So that's, pretty just in summary, that, we understand that Krishna, out of his kindness, love, and compassion, leaves the spiritual world, comes here to reclaim, all of us fallen souls to go back to him. For this age of Kali, we're given holy name, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And then hopefully by vibrating these sound, transcendental sound vibration, maybe, and hopefully we can create a strong desire to go back to him. And, even we may not have it, but, we need to somehow create this desire. So, I think that's something we, all can ponder or think about. And introspect, that do we really, Krishna is anxious to take us back. Krishna is ready, but are we ready? And what are we doing to make ourselves ready to go back? So that's what I have to share. So if you can...
Congratulations, very well articulated. I like the clarity of speech. Highly to be appreciated. Thank you so much. I think we should put her for Sunday.
This one I had a heart attack. My God,
I'm always looking for Sunday quiz lectures. So, you mentioned about the distribution effort. I don't think this
for the sake of life.
This is not working.
No, it's not working.
Oh, I didn't do it. Prabhu's service, I did halfway, so I didn't fully do it.
This part is broken. So, there's no call. Thank you so much, sir. No, but sir.
Govinda.
Mohini. Thank you so much. Old age, my memory is faster. So, you mentioned about book distribution effort, which we need to involve. You said the importance of sound vibration, and maybe it will work. It's not maybe. I feel that that's where, distributing the knowledge, definitely that's we are asked to do, that we have to do. But what do we do for nurturing ourselves? Because the whole essence is in the holy name. And we are all taught to take up this process of chanting of the holy names. And we go through the motion of chanting of the holy names. And I feel like it is so important that now we have formed this Sangha, that we have a handful of devotees here. If we can nurture ourselves or elevate ourselves to the point of being able to chant the holy name purposefully You know, you mentioned a number of times about are we putting in our efforts to go back to Godhead. And what is that effort? It's nothing other than chanting the holy name with deep attention and deep desire to serve Krishna, right? With so much intensity in the heart, with so much desperation in the heart. Are we able to do that? And we may not be, but should we even make an effort in that direction? And I think that's so important for our devotee community, all of us, each one, including myself. It is in that desperation I just picked up and left the place, because I just felt that I need to find strength there. And it's not going to come by going somewhere, certainly not. You can sit right here and do it. But to do it, unless you have the desire, deep desire in your heart, and if you don't have it, get it from someone else who has it. And that you can do in the association of devotees only. So nurturing that spirit of chanting the holy name in the with the deep desire to reach Krishna, so that it's not the more intensely we cry, the more Krishna will reciprocate. And everything is in the holy name. I happened to pick up, I was going through my papers yesterday, I happened to pick up a pamphlet written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur on the chanting of the holy name. And I was just, this is what happens to me. I run into a piece of paper and then I'm stuck with the piece of paper. I'll never complete the rest of the work what I do. And I was reading Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. He was explaining what holy name really is. It is full of that energy of Krishna. It is Krishna himself. He is explaining the holy name as the person and how you can see that, how you can chant the holy name with that deep desire and intensity. That's what we need to do to strengthen ourselves. We can go and distribute books. People will take books and go. We need to do follow-up also. And to do any of those things, we need to nurture ourselves. I feel that there is so much need to nurture ourselves, how to chant the holy name with focus and attention. If we can do that, this itself is a really great accomplishment that finally we have decided to come together for Srimad Bhagavatam class. But in every temple, we are going to become a temple, the morning japa is very important. So even if it is like maybe 30 minutes ahead of time, if we can try to make it over here, even when the weather is good, if we can start doing that, that will be a really good thing, because I know personally that Sweetie and Chandana and Bhakti Priya and I forget who else. Some of us, we did for a year or about that time, chanting together here on Saturday mornings. And each and every one of them, not one of them left this process. And each and every one of them took it up to the point of initiation, and others are in the process of doing that. And that itself shows that it's not, I'm not talking that initiation is the measuring stick or anything like that, but at least they have taken the chanting process seriously. And there are so many devotees who are coming to this temple who have been introduced to that process, but they have not developed the taste because we have not provided the environment or we have not nurtured them. And so that is so essential. If we can come together, that's a little additional thing I just wanted to do. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
I don't know what to say, but thank you so much for the wonderful class. These verses are not very easy to speak on in one sense. At least from myself, I would say that these verses seem like speaking. I know. These verses seem like there's just one point, and you need to just remain at one point. Oh, Krishna comes with Parama. That's all is there in the two purports they want to do. So there is not like an elaborate thing to discuss, but but the way you have actually gone through it, it's very helpful and nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for the class. You don't look like you have a heart attack. Really pleasant, confident, gave me hope. Probably confusion, getting ready for the sorry it came late, but please continue like this, and we want to be encouraged and we want to encourage each other. So good luck. It's more like a feedback session.
That's why don't ask me any questions. I don't know what to answer.
Thank you so much, Mataji. One thing you mentioned, you dropped out of the public speaking course 2 times. I was just thinking, as I'm hearing the class, you don't need that. That's why you got dropped out. It was so natural and so much coming from the heart. Very, very touching class. The point, I iterated again and again. Krishna is so kind out of his way. He doesn't have to, but he's coming. Shadrupa Mataji is mentioning, Pandana Prabhu also covered very nicely yesterday.
It was very sweet. Whoever did come missed it. Because he didn't record. Pandana Prabhu's class yesterday.
Nobody recorded.
He did not want us to record. And that was a huge mistake that we listened to him.
You should not listen to
Yeah, next time I'm not going to.
The recording was on and Prabhu came and he stopped it and I was just helplessly looking at it.
Doing live.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable. One sometimes.
Yeah, one thing I'm thinking, Mataji, as you said, I'll be really putting our effort, just sharing my heart and want to hear more, as it's nice to hear from you on that point. Krishna is doing so much, are we putting our effort? I see that desire, little bit is there, it's flickering here and there. But that kind of strong emphasis, or even to the point that Premanand Mataji is sharing, at least that's striving our effort. At times I feel like that's just dwindling off, it's just like, kind of vanishes. Just want to hear from
Let's see what.
you. Even the desire, or even the effort, I'm not there, but even to have that strong impetus, yes, at least I have to put that effort from myself. Even that's not there in the heart sometimes.
So 2 things that are, from what I've heard in the past is coming to me is like 1, understanding that we're on a mixed platform. We have some material desire, we have some spiritual desire, and we're always trying to find the balance, but there is no balance. Everything material has to turn to spiritual. And the second thing is our mind, our dear friend mind, just like in how, and verse 33 says, the mind is carrying, mind and modes of nature are carrying out like all of this, our activities. So understanding those 2 things, that I'm mixed and it's my mind, and focusing on what Mataji said, turning those thoughts into more positive. Even if you don't have the desire to chant, still chant. That's what I've heard. Still read, still talk to somebody. Somehow or other, find a way to get out of those. And then Mataji said associates, association is like, I personally feel is such a key to keep on, going or even creating that desire. It's like a magnet, like you're an iron, but like you go close to it, they attract you. So devotees are like that. So I feel, that's probably this understanding and then doing something on our own part to get out of it.
I learned that when I was in Bangladesh, when I was in Bangladesh, I happened to hear a class by Badahari Das Prabhu. He was there for their 2 months Kirtan. They are running 2 months Kirtan course. Yeah. And Sakinandan Maharaj, Badaharidasaru, Amala Harinam, so many people are there. And so one of the morning Bhagavatam classes, somebody asked something similar to this. And in essence, finally after the discussion, what it came down to is you stay in the course, like you stay in the process. As long as you don't drop the process, that itself is good effort. But then you have to think a little further. That is, when all this is happening, everybody's mind, it is going to happen. Mind is never going to leave you. It is part of your subtle body. And all that thing is going to happen to everyone. These distractions and depressions and losing faith and all that. But can we allow that to happen? So, as we stay on the course, that alone is not enough for us. I mean, staying on the course is essential, but we need to be more thoughtful. We have to be careful about our spiritual life. Everything else that we do in this material world, it's not going to be of any significance at the time of death. We all experience it right now, right? We are a young community, but we are now experiencing one or two deaths in the community. So no matter what you do, you may be the biggest doer in this world, but nothing that you did is of no significance whatsoever. Ultimately, it is the holy day. And so, understanding that, every single time you take up the process of chanting, you make every conscious effort, because mindlessly we did not even know the significance of chanting the holy name. Fortunately, somehow by Krishna and Guru's mercy, we all got it. And we started doing it. And then we were relishing it in the beginning. And then you lose the taste for it in the middle. And then you become like, somehow make up the round going through this process. But how long are we going to allow that to happen? How much time we have? So conscious effort has to be there. As we are staying on the course, we also have to consciously make effort to bring your mind's attention, because what other choice do you have? How long are we going to continue through this process of mindless chanting? Everything else that we do will be washed away. Nobody is going to remember. Nothing. You never even existed. So all the designations, all the coverings that we have need to be just simply dropped and come to the platform of chanting the holy name in the right spirit. And if it is not happening, do whatever it takes to make it happen. There is no magic trick here. You have to really consciously bring your mind back there. We cannot afford not to do that. Knowing that's the way it is. That's how it is. Yeah.
Thank you. When the discussion of holy name comes, one point is going in my mind last 2 weeks or so. After the festival of holy name, it was so nice for those, at least couple of days, not all the 4 days. I was able to chant after reading the class very nicely. But then I was trying to see if I can at least do 1 or 2 rounds. I was trying to do that, but it's next to impossible. I was not able to do that, not even able to concentrate or focus. Right, to please Krishna, remembering Krishna and feeling the Nama Govinda. But even the attention itself is not being there. But then I was thinking, okay, it's not going to work. I need to complete my rounds. Right? So it's always the number is the one which is I'm not sure how do I.
There is a lot to be said about this. There's a ton of things that need to be said about this. And when I got a little bit of a time to introspect myself, I'm nowhere in chanting process. I was totally losing it. And then I lost my mind when I was losing it.
Don't say that.
Literally.
You only have hope.
And I had this panic attack. And I was like, who am I going to turn to? If I panic, how do all of you feel? who am I going to turn to? Krishna only. But panicking is not going to help also. So I got to do something. I got to do something about this. So I did something about it. And so I think we will share what I did something about it. Not right now, but it works. We cannot afford to chant lightly. I mean, yes, as you said, we all go through that process of like, okay, now I have to somehow make up that round. So, no, that's not enough. No.
So we have a special day for
We will have a special. No, actually, this is a sharing. Me and Shatrumpa talked about this. That before Janmashtami, we will have one day. I don't know. We didn't fix the date. I was going to write something, but never wrote also. I wanted to have all of us here one Saturday or something, and it's a 32 round chanting, and we are not going to just do 32 round count. That's not the process at all. We will try to make every effort to chant with focused attention, and in between we will inspire ourselves with our dear Sadrupa's Krishna given gift of doing the not kirtan, like we will have some little bhajan in between, and then introspect, and then we chant. We want to do the 32 round chanting, not just the 32 round counting. We don't want to do that. Let us do that because Janmashtami is coming, and Janmashtami is really tearing me apart. So Janmashtami is like everybody is overexcited, Janmashtami. And so in that excitement of doing things, usually I see this intensity of wanting to do things for Janmashtami. And then Janmashtami is over, then you don't see anybody. They just disappear. I don't know what happened to Janmashtami. So this is not worth recording. And I think so. The point is that as we are in the intense desire to do things during Janmashtami, how do we do those things? It is not just doing. It is, you are doing it as a loving service to Krishna. How do you offer your service to Krishna in that mood unless you chant the holy name properly? So we thought we will have a 32 round chanting day here before Janmashtami, and we will strengthen ourselves. And that will be a practical doing things together in the right way. And we will hopefully carry on forward with that. This is the hope. So anyway, we are staying on the course and we are just trying to improve ourselves. That's all. So we'll do that. Hopefully. Yeah. Thank you so much. Very good.
Cheer for the
It was very well spoken, like a seasoned, wonderful speaker. Wow, that's very great of you. Wonderful. So nice. Thank you so much.